The morning started like any other on the great monitoring station that watched over the galaxy's edge. Commander Yuki Tanaka sipped her coffee while staring at the endless stream of data flowing across her screens. Ships came and went, carrying goods and messages between the stars, but nothing ever seemed truly important. Then the signal arrived. It wasn't loud or flashy like the war cries that usually announced new species to the galaxy. Instead, it was gentle, almost musical. The transmission carried simple words in a language no one had heard before, but the universal translator quickly made sense of them. Greetings, friends among the stars. We are humanity from the world called Earth. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. Yuki nearly dropped her coffee. A new species was always big news, but this one felt different. Most aliens announced themselves with demands or threats. These humans sounded almost innocent. Within hours, the message reached the Coalition's main headquarters on Nexus 7, a massive space station that served as the center of galactic government. The Coalition had kept peace between 200 different species for 3,000 years, and they knew how to handle first contact. Ambassador Miho Park arrived 3 weeks later aboard a ship called the Harmony. He was tall for a human, with kind eyes and a warm smile that seemed genuine. His team included Dr. Soyeon Kim, a scientist who asked endless questions about everything she saw, and Captain Jisoo Lee, who stayed quiet but watched everything with careful attention. The first meeting took place in the Grand Assembly Hall, a huge room with crystal walls that could hold representatives from dozens of worlds. Ambassador Park stood at the center, looking small but confident as hundreds of alien eyes focused on him. "We come seeking knowledge, not conquest," he said through his translator. The device turned his words into the clicks, whistles, and musical tones that different species use to communicate. "Our world is young and we have much to learn." Coalition Intelligence Officer Zenthka watched from a viewing gallery above the main floor. His 4 eyes tracked every movement of the human delegation. Something about these newcomers puzzled him. They seemed so open, so eager to share their technology and learn about other species. Most new civilizations arrived with warships and demanded respect through strength. These humans had brought only one ship filled with scientists and diplomats. Dr. Kim spent her days in the science labs, working alongside alien researchers and sharing her knowledge of Earth biology. She laughed with crystal beings from the ice worlds and debated theories with the ancient tree-like scholars from Verdania. Her joy was infectious, and soon even the most serious scientists found themselves smiling when she entered a room. Ambassador Park proved equally charming in the political halls. He listened carefully to other species' concerns and offered thoughtful solutions to old problems. When the trade representatives complained about shipping routes, he suggested new paths through human space. When scientists needed rare materials for their research, he promised that Earth could provide them. But it was Captain Lee who caught Zenthka's attention. The human military officer said little during formal meetings, but his eyes never stopped moving. He studied the station's layout, noticed which corridors carried the most traffic, and asked innocent questions about Coalition fleet positions. To most observers he seemed like a curious tourist. To Zenthka's trained eye, he looked like a scout gathering intelligence. Days turned into weeks, and the humans continued to charm everyone they met. They shared Earth's music, which became wildly popular in the entertainment districts. They offered medical knowledge that helped solve diseases that had plagued certain species for generations. They even shared their food recipes, though few aliens could handle the spices humans seemed to love. The Coalition Council voted unanimously to welcome humanity as junior members, an honor rarely given so quickly to new species. Ambassador Park accepted with tears in his eyes, thanking the Council for their trust and friendship. But Zenthka remained troubled. His job was to spot threats before they became dangerous, and something about the humans didn't add up. Their technology was advanced enough for interstellar travel, yet they claimed to have no significant military. Their planet showed signs of heavy industrial activity, but they produced far less than expected. Most strange of all, their home system seemed to have heat signatures in places where no planets should exist. Late one night, as the station's artificial day cycle dimmed to evening, Zenthka stood in his office reviewing reports. Dr. Kim had asked about Coalition defensive strategies during a casual conversation. Ambassador Park had requested detailed star charts of the border regions. Captain Lee had toured the station's command center, asking questions about communication systems. Individually, these actions meant nothing. Together, they painted a picture that made Zenthka's skin crawl. "Sir?" His assistant, a young officer named Rix 9, entered with the daily reports. "The humans have requested permission to establish colonies in 3 frontier systems. They say they want to study the local environments." Zenthka looked at the star chart showing the requested systems. Each one controlled important trade routes or strategic positions near the galaxy's edge. Pure coincidence or careful planning? Approve their request, he said finally. But I want monitoring stations in all 3 systems. Hidden ones. As Rix 9 left to carry out his orders, Zenthka stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was either the galaxy's newest friends or its most dangerous enemies. The problem was figuring out which before it was too late. The humans slept peacefully in their quarters, dreaming of tomorrow's meetings and new discoveries. But in the depths of space, invisible watchers began their patient vigil. The coffee shop on Nexus 7's main plaza had become Ambassador Park's favorite meeting place. Every morning at 8 station time, he would sit at the corner table with a cup of Earth coffee and a stack of reports. Aliens from dozens of worlds had grown used to seeing the friendly human there, always ready with a smile and a wave. 6 months had passed since first contact, and humanity had woven itself into galactic society like they had always belonged. The trade center buzzed with activity as Earth's rare metals flowed outward while alien medical scanners and navigation computers flowed back to human space. But it was Earth's entertainment that really captured galactic attention. "Have you watched the new Earth drama series?" asked Veltana, a blue-skinned trader from the Spiral Arm colonies as she stopped by Park's table. "My entire crew is addicted to something called romantic comedies." Park chuckled. "Earth produces many stories about love and friendship. We're happy they bring joy to others." What Park didn't mention was how these innocent entertainment programs carried subtle information about human culture, psychology, and social structures. Every alien who watched Earth's movies learned a little more about how humans thought and reacted. 3 levels below the plaza, in the Coalition Intelligence Office, Zenthka stared at holographic displays showing human activity across the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies, green lines showed trade routes, and yellow triangles indicated exploration missions. The pattern should have been random, but it wasn't. "Show me the Korthax Gate region," he commanded his computer. The display zoomed in on a critical jump point that connected 3 major star systems. A human science vessel called the Pioneer had spent 2 weeks there, supposedly studying mineral deposits in the local asteroids. Their published report was thorough and boring, exactly what scientists would produce. But Zenthka noticed they had scanned every single asteroid in the field, mapped all the gravitational currents and recorded detailed information about ship traffic patterns. Perfect intelligence for someone planning to control that region. Dr. Yuna Choi, his science advisor, entered with a steaming cup of tea and a worried expression. She was young for her position, but her analytical mind had solved more puzzles than agents twice her age. "The humans established another colony yesterday," she reported, settling into a chair beside his desk. "A farming community on Delta 7, right in the buffer zone between us and Kethvar space." Zenthka pulled up the location on his display. Delta 7 was a pleasant world with good soil and mild weather, perfect for agriculture. It was also positioned exactly where someone would want an observation post to watch Kethvar military movements. "How many colonies now?" he asked. 17, Yuna replied. "All small, all peaceful, all focused on research or farming. But look at this." She touched her tablet, and the display changed to show all human colonies connected by dotted lines. The pattern formed a rough circle around Coalition space, with key positions covering every major trade route and strategic choke point. "They're building a network," Zenthka murmured. "But for what purpose?" Meanwhile, in the embassy district, Dr. Kim was having lunch with her new best friend, Professor Zex Kala from the University of Galactic Sciences. The elderly scholar had become fascinated with human biology and spent hours discussing Earth's evolutionary history. "Your species develops so quickly," Zex Kala marveled, waving a tentacle at the research papers scattered across their table. "Most civilizations take thousands of years to reach your level of genetic adaptation." Kim smiled while carefully steering the conversation. "We've always been good at surviving challenges. Earth has many dangerous environments that forced us to become flexible." What she didn't explain was how those same survival instincts had driven humanity to develop military technologies alongside their peaceful sciences. Every human colony had hidden defensive systems. Every trade ship carried more sensors than cargo. Every diplomat was also a trained observer. Back in the intelligence office, Zenthka received a report that made his blood run cold. His stealth probes had finally reached Earth's outer system, where long-range sensors had detected those mysterious heat signatures months ago. "What did you find?" he asked the probe operator. "Nothing, sir. The heat signatures vanished the moment we got close." But our sensors picked up massive gravitational distortions in several locations, like something very large was bending space around itself. Yuna leaned forward, studying the data. The energy patterns suggest active cloaking fields, but that's impossible. Our technology assessments show humans barely understand basic shield technology. Zenthka felt a chill run down his spine. Show me Earth's industrial reports again. The display changed to show manufacturing statistics from human worlds. Everything looked normal: factories producing consumer goods, farms growing food, mines extracting resources. But when Zenthka compared the numbers to what a civilization of Earth's size should produce, something was wrong. They're using too little raw materials, he realized. A planet with Earth's population should need 3 times this much metal and energy. Either they're incredibly efficient or they're hiding their real production, Yuna finished. But hiding it where? The answer came to Zenthka like a punch to the stomach. The cloaking fields. The strategic colony positions. The innocent exploration missions to critical locations. Humanity wasn't just joining galactic society, they were mapping it, studying it, and preparing for something. Sir? Yuna noticed his expression. What is it? Before Zenthka could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency broadcasts flooded every screen and speaker, carrying news that would change everything. The Kethvar Empire had launched a surprise attack on 3 coalition border worlds. The galaxy was at war and humanity's true nature was about to be revealed. The emergency alarms screamed through Nexus 7 like wounded animals. Ambassador Park rushed from his morning coffee to the Coalition Council chambers, where panicked voices filled the air in dozens of languages. The great viewing screens showed images that made his stomach turn: burning cities, broken ships drifting in space, and the crystal-like warships of the Kethvar Empire cutting through coalition defenses like knives through paper. 3 systems lost in 6 hours, announced Council Leader Vexmol, his usually calm voice shaking. The Kethvar used some kind of new weapon technology. Our shields couldn't stop them. Park listened as military commanders argued about defensive strategies and evacuation plans. The Kethvar had been quiet enemies for decades, always testing coalition borders but never launching full attacks. Now they had revealed their true strength and it was terrifying. We need time to mobilize our fleets, General Crix 7 declared, his mechanical voice crackling with static. The outer colonies must be evacuated immediately. There is no time, replied Admiral Thexwan from the ocean world of Aquaria. Their ships move faster than anything we've seen. They'll reach the core systems in days, not weeks. Park stood slowly, feeling hundreds of alien eyes turned toward him. His hands remained steady as he activated his translator, though his heart pounded like a war drum. Earth offers limited military assistance, he said simply. We cannot stand by while innocent lives are lost. The council chamber fell silent. Several members exchanged glances that Park pretended not to notice. Everyone knew humans had only recently joined the galactic community. Their technology was impressive for such a young species, but what could they possibly do against the Kethvar war machine? Ambassador Park, Vexmol said carefully, we appreciate Earth's friendship, but this is beyond what your people can handle. Perhaps you should evacuate your colonies instead. Park smiled sadly. With respect, Council Leader, we cannot abandon our friends. Earth will send what military forces we have available. 3 days later, 20 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the rally point near the Helix Nebula. Coalition officers aboard the command vessel Morning Star watched through their viewports as the human task force took formation. The ships were beautiful in a deadly way, sleek and angular like hunting birds, painted in dark colors that seemed to absorb light. Admiral Hyun Kim materialized on the main communication screen, a woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. Behind her, the bridge of her flagship looked nothing like the peaceful research vessel that had brought humanity to galactic attention. I am Admiral Kim of the Terran Defense Force, she announced to the assembled coalition fleet. This task force represents our entire space navy. We hope it will be sufficient to assist in the defense of innocent worlds. Coalition Admiral Thexwan tried to hide his disappointment. 20 ships against the Kethvar Empire? It was a noble gesture, but it would barely slow down the enemy advance. Admiral Kim, he replied, we welcome Earth's assistance. Please take position in the rear formation. Your ships can provide support fire while our main fleet engages. Kim's expression didn't change. With respect, Admiral, my crews have trained extensively for this type of combat. We request permission to lead the first assault wave. Before Thexwan could object, Kethvar ships appeared on the edge of the system. 30 crystal warships, each one twice the size of the largest coalition vessel, moved in perfect formation toward the defending fleet. All ships prepare for combat, Thexwan ordered. Human vessels, please maintain safe distance and provide. He never finished the sentence. The human ships simply vanished. Not destroyed, not retreated, vanished. One moment they were there, the next they had disappeared completely from all sensors. What just happened? Demanded General Crix 7 from his command ship. The answer came when Kethvar ships began exploding. The first enemy vessel simply broke apart, its crystalline hull shattering like glass. Then another and another. Human ships flickered in and out of visibility like ghosts, striking with impossible precision before disappearing again. Captain J. Park, Admiral Kim's nephew, commanded the destroyer Wind Dancer with the skill of someone born to space combat. He used the gravity of a nearby gas giant to slingshot his ship around the planet's moons, building speed until he was moving faster than physics should allow. His ship appeared directly above a Kethvar cruiser and fired a single shot that punched through the enemy's shields and hull like they were made of paper. "Impossible," whispered Kethvar's Supreme Commander Vectar from his flagship. His sensors showed human ships moving in ways that defied known technology. They bent light around themselves, used gravity as a weapon, and coordinated their attacks with machine-like precision. But it was the intercepted human communications that truly terrified him. As his ships fell one by one to these impossible human vessels, his listening posts picked up radio chatter between the human captains. "Wind Dancer to Fleet Command," Captain Park reported calmly. "Target eliminated using standard engagement protocols. Requesting permission to assist Thunderstrike with the heavy cruiser." "Permission granted," came Admiral Kim's response. "Remember, we are operating under diplomatic mission parameters. Keep collateral damage to minimum levels." Vectar felt ice form in his warrior's heart. Diplomatic mission parameters? These humans were destroying his fleet while following rules designed to avoid excessive violence. What would happen if they decided to truly fight? The battle ended in 18 minutes. 20 human ships had destroyed 30 Kethvar vessels without losing a single ship of their own. Supreme Commander Vectar sat alone in his private chamber aboard the flagship Death's Edge, staring at the decoded message that had just arrived from his intelligence division. His 4 hands shook as he read the words again, hoping he had made some terrible mistake. The human communication was simple, almost casual. Captain J. Park of something called the Harmony's Shield was reporting to his admiral about their recent battle. The young human captain had destroyed 5 Kethvar warships in the last engagement, and he was asking for permission to use stronger weapons. "Current engagement parameters remain within acceptable diplomatic constraints," the message read. "Request tactical assessment from Fleet Command regarding escalation protocols." The response from Admiral Kim made Vectar's blood freeze in his veins. "Understood, Captain. Continue operations under Protocol 7. Main battle fleet remains on standby pending escalation authorization." Vectar stood up so quickly his chair toppled backward. Main battle fleet? The 20 ships that had been destroying his forces weren't even humanity's real navy? They were just escorts, guards for diplomats and scientists? He called his chief intelligence officer immediately. "Zach Moore, get me everything we know about human military capability. Now." The spider-like alien scuttled into the chamber with a data pad clutched in his many legs. "Sir, our analysis suggests the humans have been hiding their true strength. These 20 ships appear to be only a small advance force." "How small?" Vectar demanded. "Unknown, sir. But based on their industrial capacity and the energy signatures our deep space monitors have detected, they could have hundreds or even thousands of ships hidden throughout their territory." Vectar felt something he had never experienced in 40 years of warfare, genuine fear. Not fear of death, which was normal in battle, but fear of fighting an enemy whose true strength remained completely unknown. He opened an emergency communication channel to Coalition High Command on Nexus 7. The holographic image of Council Leader Vex Mole appeared, looking tired and worried. "Supreme Commander," Vex Mole said carefully, "have you contacted us to discuss surrender terms?" "I have contacted you to deliver an ultimatum," Vectar replied, his voice deadly calm. "The humans have deceived us all. Those 20 ships are not their entire fleet, they are merely escorts. I demand that humanity reveal their true military capabilities immediately, or I will consider this an act of war against the Kethvar Empire." The color drained from Vex Mole's face. "What do you mean, escorts?" "I mean your precious human allies have been lying since the moment they arrived in this galaxy. They are not peaceful explorers. They are wolves pretending to be sheep, and I will not be hunted by creatures who hide their fangs. The connection ended, leaving Vexmol staring at empty space. Within minutes, emergency alarms were blaring throughout Nexus 7 as the Coalition Council called an emergency session. Ambassador Park sat in the council chamber like a man watching his own execution. Around him, representatives from 200 species demanded answers. Some shouted in anger, others whispered in fear, but all wanted to know the same thing: had humanity been lying to them from the beginning? Ambassador Park, Council Leader Vexmol said, his voice echoing in the sudden silence. The Kethvar Supreme Commander claims your people have hidden their true military strength. He demands immediate disclosure of all human military assets, or he will launch total war against both humanity and the Coalition. Park looked around the chamber at faces that had once welcomed him with friendship. Now he saw suspicion, anger, and fear. Dr. Kim sat in the gallery, her eyes filled with tears as she watched her friend's careful deception finally unravel. Members of the Council, Park said slowly, rising to his feet. Earth has never lied about our desire for peace. We came seeking friendship and we found it among you. But we also learned long ago that good intentions are not enough to protect innocent lives. Answer the question, demanded General Crix, 7, his mechanical voice harsh with anger. Do you have more ships than the 20 fighting alongside our fleet? Park closed his eyes for a moment, then activated his personal communicator. The device connected directly to Earth through quantum channels that could not be intercepted or blocked. This is Ambassador Miho Park, he said, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what he was about to do. Diplomatic solutions have been exhausted. The Kethvar Empire has threatened total war against the Coalition and all human territories. Request immediate intervention under the Terra Doctrine. The response came in less than 10 seconds, broadcast on frequencies that every ship and station in the galaxy could receive. Authorization confirmed. Terra Doctrine is now active. All fleet assets, prepare for immediate deployment. Across human space, something impossible began to happen. Energy signatures that had been hidden for months started appearing on every sensor in the galaxy. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of massive contacts suddenly became visible. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as cloaking fields the size of moons shut down, revealing warships that had been hiding in plain sight. What the galaxy had thought were asteroids, space debris, and empty regions of space suddenly blazed with the power signatures of an armada beyond imagination. Dr. Kim found Park in the embassy's private quarters an hour later. He was standing at the window, watching Coalition ships scramble to defensive positions as reports flooded in about the massive human fleet that had apparently been surrounding them all along. How long? She asked quietly. Park turned to face his oldest friend, his face showing the weight of 18 months of careful deception. Since the beginning, Soyan. We learned our lesson when the Zephyrians died, and the Mantari were enslaved, and a dozen other peaceful species were destroyed because they trusted in words rather than strength. Outside the window, space shimmered as more human ships decloaked, their running lights creating new constellations in the darkness. The morning shift change on Nexus 7 happened at exactly 0800 station time, just like it had every day for the past 3 years. Security Chief Dax Ven was walking toward his office with a cup of hot chocolate when the sky outside the viewing windows began to shimmer. At first, he thought something was wrong with the station's artificial atmosphere. The space beyond the transparent walls looked like air rising from hot pavement on a summer day. Then reality seemed to tear apart and Dax Ven dropped his cup in shock. Ships began appearing everywhere. Not the small patrol vessels or trade haulers that usually visited the station, but massive warships that stretched for kilometers in every direction. They materialized silently, as if they had been there all along and someone had simply turned off an invisibility switch. By the 7 moons, Dax Ven whispered, pressing his face against the window. The largest ship was impossible to understand. It was bigger than some of the moons he had grown up seeing in his home system's sky. Its hull was dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light, and weapon arrays covered its surface like the spines of some ancient war beast. Behind it, more ships kept appearing, carriers that looked like floating cities, destroyers that moved with the deadly grace of hunting sharks, and support vessels that dwarfed the largest Coalition battleships. Throughout the station, alarms began screaming. People ran through the corridors, some toward emergency stations and others simply trying to find windows to see the impossible sight outside. In the Coalition Council chambers, representatives from 200 worlds stared at their tactical displays in stunned silence. How many ships? Asked Council Leader Vexmol, his voice barely a whisper. Still counting, sir, reported his aide, a young officer whose hands shook as she worked her console. Sensors show at least 3,000 vessels, but more keep appearing. Sir, some of these ships are larger than our entire space stations. On his flagship Death's Edge, Supreme Commander Vectar watched his tactical display with the fascination of someone witnessing his own death. His 30 remaining ships, which had seemed so powerful just hours ago, looked like insects next to the human armada. His sensor officers were calling out contact reports so fast their voices blurred together. Dreadnought-class vessel at bearing 27 Mark IV. Length approximately 8 kilometers. Weapon signatures, unknown, sir. Energy output exceeds our measurement capabilities. Carrier group forming at bearing 12 Mark VIII. Count shows? Sir, I'm reading over 400 fighter craft launching from a single vessel. Multiple battle stations coming online throughout the system. Sir, they were disguised as asteroids. We've been surrounded for months without knowing it. Vectar closed his eyes and tried to remember the prayers his mother had taught him as a child. He had led the Kethvar Empire into a war against an enemy they couldn't begin to comprehend. Every communication screen in the galaxy suddenly activated at the same time. From the smallest research station to the largest military command center, the same image appeared, a human woman in a simple blue uniform standing on the bridge of the massive dreadnought. Admiral Suyin Quan looked directly into the camera with eyes that had seen too many wars. She was not young, with silver streaks in her black hair and lines around her eyes that spoke of difficult decisions. But she stood straight and spoke with a voice that carried absolute authority. I am Admiral Quan of the Terran Defense Force, she began. For 18 months, we have sought peace through diplomatic means. We have shared our knowledge, opened our homes and called you friends. Behind her, through the massive windows of her flagship, the Kethvar fleet looked like toys scattered by a careless child. Earth learned long ago that civilizations die when the peaceful have no strength to protect what they cherish, she continued. Our colonies were not simple settlements. They were forward operating bases, placed to monitor and protect trade routes. Our merchant ships carried sensors and communication equipment to gather intelligence. Our diplomats were trained observers, studying potential threats to galactic peace. Ambassador Park sat in his office on Nexus 7, listening to words he had hoped never to hear. Around him, his staff watched their screens with expressions ranging from shame to relief. The careful deception that had protected humanity for 18 months was finally over. We genuinely sought peace, Admiral Quan's voice continued across every speaker in the galaxy. We hope to find a civilization mature enough to value friendship over fear, wisdom over strength. But we have watched too many species die because they trusted in words rather than weapons. We will not make that mistake. On the Kethvar flagship, Vectar's communication officer looked at him with desperate eyes. Sir, they're waiting for our response. Orders. Vectar stared at the human armada surrounding his forces. Each of those ships could probably destroy his entire fleet without effort. The humans had been playing with him during their earlier battles, fighting with rules designed to minimize damage rather than maximize destruction. Open all channels, he said quietly. Broadcast on all frequencies. The communication went out across the galaxy, reaching every ship and station in known space. This is Supreme Commander Vectar of the Kethvar Empire. I formally surrender all military forces under my command. We did not understand what we faced. The war that could have destroyed civilizations ended without a single shot fired by the human armada. Dr. Kim found Ambassador Park on the embassy's observation deck hours later. He stood quietly watching the human fleet maintain perfect formation around Nexus 7, their running lights creating new patterns among the stars. Will anyone trust us again? She asked. Park smiled sadly. Trust is earned through actions, not words. Maybe someday they'll understand that the strongest warriors are those wise enough to hide their strength until it's truly needed.